Senior Bureau Officer Nick Checker, members of Diplomatic Corps. Thank you. Dear friends of Rwanda, fellow Rwandans, distinguished guests, good afternoon. It is my honor to be with you today as we commemorate and pay tribute to the lives lost during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. On this day, for the last 32 years and more years to come, we take a moment to pause and be still so that we can reflect, remember, and also recommit. We reflect on the genesis of the journey that led our nation to the genocide against the Tutsi, the most, utmost, ugliest, and devastating genocide of all times, and also think of the terminus that led to the end of that genocide and rehabilitated the country. The genesis was a leadership that promoted hate, divisionism, and discrimination over decades. Tutsis were persecuted. At school, they were asked to identify themselves, stand up among all other children. At workplace, they were given the most demeaning positions despite their competence. In the community, they were isolated, rejected, to the point that in 1959, 60, 63, they were even sent to one area in the country called Bugesera, which was the most dangerous area because there was a venomous insect, tsetse, and the intention was them to be killed. They were moved from their homes in different areas of the country and isolated. Over time, they were dehumanized, called cockroaches, aliens, snakes, name it. And survivors forced to flee their country in 1959, 63, 90, 91, and 94. The genesis is a leadership that based discrimination and that distributed privileges based on ethnicity, geographic region, rather than meritocracy, and rather than keeping its people educated. Most of his population were uneducated and in poverty. To give you a picture, between 1963 and 1994, 31 years, there was only one higher learning institution in Rwanda, University of Rwanda, and only 2,000 university graduates. 31 years in a nation. And even among those, Tutsis were a tiny proportion because of restrictive quotas. That same leadership kept the population as refugees for decades, deprived for their rights to belong, to exist, and prosper. Rwandans, while in exile, were limited to the level of education they could attain, regardless the talent, and limited to what kind of profession they could exercise, even when competent. Left with no choice, these refugees, together with those marginalized within Rwanda, started the liberation struggle led by His Excellency President Paul Kagame. Their vision and motivation was Rwanda, where all Rwandans could be freely, without discrimination, be united and work together for progress and prosperity, led by the government that cared for all its citizens. This is the leadership and young, determined Rwandans that stopped the genocide and embarked on the journey of healing minds and hearts and building the country we see today. On this special day, we do not only reflect, we also remember. The genocide against the Tutsi was not committed by strangers or people who invaded Rwanda. It was us, It was one section of Rwandans, defined as Hutus, sought to exterminate another one defined as Tutsi. This deadly categorization of Rwandans dated back on the time of Belgian colonial rule, as you've seen it in the documentary, but was adopted and executed by the pre-1994 government that planned and carried out the genocide. Within a complex society like ours, with intermarriages across ethnicities, with the same single national language, Kinyarwanda, living in the same village, the genocide against the Tutsi found us in our homes. Parents killing children, and vice versa, siblings killing each other, spouses killing each other. In only 100 days, over 1 million Tutsi lives were lost. That is every day, approximately 240 killings every hour and approximately 10,000 killings every day. Tutsi were killed everywhere, in homes, in churches, on streets, men, women, children, all slaughtered in the most dehumanizing way with the aim of wiping out their existence. Ladies and gentlemen, what happened in Rwanda in 1994 was not a civil war. It was not a double genocide. It was a systematic, planned, intentionally executed genocide against the Tutsi. The genocide planners and perpetrators, they almost succeeded. They left a nation totally devastated. Over 400,000 children, orphans, or separated from their families. Roughly 70% of our population, adult population, was women, with tens of thousands of widows managing households in extreme poverty and trauma. Approximately 3 million of Rwandans fled in the neighboring countries. To give you a bit of context, in 1994, the population of Rwanda was 7 million. So with more than 1 million killed, approximately 3 million refugees going in neighboring countries, and almost 2 million cases of genocide perpetrators, you are left with a country that is totally destroyed, the social fabric non-existing. In addition to that, there was a total destruction of civil infrastructure, hospitals, school, roads, and an economy of less than $100 GDP per capita. Rwanda, the country, was a failed state. For the country to rise from those ashes and embark on rebuilding, it took the visionary and exemplary leadership of the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, who summarized the 3 choices that Rwanda made that have served us so well. Be together, be accountable, and think big. To this day, Rwanda's political priorities of unity, accountability, and ambition continue to guide us as we work towards our national goals. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to quickly bring to your attention to 2 major decisions that the president took, which were determining for our future, and that really translate in the above realities, and that will also speak of the existing testimonies that we are. The first one, while addressing RPA as its commander in the midst of the liberal struggle in 1992, he told the troops, "Each of you should keep in mind the aim of our liberation struggle, the goal that made us to take up arms and fight. This means our conduct and actions, our thoughts, must always differentiate us from those who we're fighting with. Otherwise, if there is no difference from those we are fighting, our struggle would be meaningless." This is how the policy of no revenge was ordered and enforced. This is why Rwanda later abolished the death penalty in 2007. This is why Rwanda, by 1996, brought back 3 million refugees from refugee camps back to their homes in Rwanda. It is how the ex-army, ex-FAR, the former army which fought the RPA, joined together and formed one integrated Rwanda Defense Force. And this is how today institutions from central to local government are anchored on philosophy of inclusivity, consensus, and citizen-centered service delivery and development. For Rwanda to heal and rebuild, survivors were asked to forgive. That's the second ask. Reconcile and live. Quite a huge ask after all they were suffering, yet they were the ones who had something left to give. Nevertheless, this ask was accompanied by massive effort to deliver justice because there cannot be reconciliation without justice. Between 2002 and 2012, Rwanda's Gacaca courts tried 2 million cases of suspects accused of committing genocide. Over a period of almost 30 years, 75 ringleaders were tried by United Nations International Criminal Tribunal, the ICTR. The journey of justice continues because there are still genocide fugitives at large in different countries around the world. Rwanda will continue working with the concerned countries to bring them to justice. Ladies and gentlemen, when we take a moment every year to commemorate, Rwanda revisits deep memories. Often it is painful and traumatizing. But we have embraced the challenging reality where each Rwanda has a story, and we are living testimonies of this journey. I was only 12 years old when I learned that my mother was involved in the genocide against the Tutsi. At the same time, we were mourning the killings of my other members of the family on my father's side. The journey was not easy. I struggled with confusion. This can't be true. I struggled with denial. No, she's dead. It's not possible. It's not her. They are confusing her by someone else. I struggled with identity loss and a lot of pain. Pain of embracing that a mother that I love is the same mother that I hate for what she has done, for who she has become. Pain of being a very young girl of 12 years old, but being rejected by your friends because they can't trust you. Which side are you? Survivor or a genocide perpetrator? Children. Who are you? Why have you not told us your story before? Because me, I learned about my mother 2 years after the genocide. She had fled the country, gone with other perpetrators in Congo. She was caught and she was put in jail. But our father was not able to tell us. How do you tell a 12 years old, 9 years old, and 3 years old that their mother was involved in an atrocity like a genocide? How do you tell them that as much as they believe she was dead, and they are mourning their uncles and aunties and grandparents from your side of the family, that actually, although not directly, but she has done the same for someone else's family? I carried the pain and the shame of being called a child of a genocide perpetrator. And the pain of losing motherhood, because mothers are meant to give life, not to take lives. Those are some of the stories of this Rwanda we are telling you today. I'm telling you mine, but we have plenty. We have 14 million stories that have gone through different types of pain and different types of traumas, but have decided to go beyond that and be able to become the Rwanda we are telling you today. When we go back to these stories every year, I remember one time someone asked me, how many times will you talk about that story? And my answer was simple: for as long as I'm going to live, and for as long as my kids will live, and for as long as other generations will live. Because these are our stories, and these are the facts and the realities. When we revisit those moments, they are not enjoyable. We are not having recountless of going back in those memories for the sake of going there and for the sake of telling stories. We are doing that because despite 30 years on, where we still have the pain of losing our dearest and most cherished deep, what keeps us going is the call on duty to live the life they were not able to take forward. The call on duty to live, because after all, life is most abundant pain, and we owe it to them. The call on duty to recommit ourselves to preserving history, tell the truth no matter how ugly and painful it can be, to challenge the false and distorted narrative spread by genocide deniers. Thank you. And ensure that future generations never forget. We are bound by this call to raise the never again flag and act. We recommit ourselves on a day like this one to a clean break with our tragic past. As a child of a genocide perpetrator, I am a living testimony of this new Rwanda. I went to school with all other children, attended high learning schools like a survivor child. I competed for different positions by merit. I was able to work for the office of the president as a deputy chief of staff for 10 years. I had high-ranking positions in different organizations in the country that are part of developing the country and defining the agenda of the future of the country. And today, I am the Minister of Sport. I sit in a cabinet chaired by the chief in command who stopped the same genocide my mother was committing. I want all of you to take a moment and let that sink. It's not theory, it's not propaganda, it's reality. Today, I am not judged and seen in the eyes of the name of my mother, but I'm judged and seen in the eyes of what I do for my country, of what I can bring on table in developing this country and take it to the level that is worth my life and my children's life. We recommit ourselves to also keep that reality to next generations. We have a responsibility to let them know the facts and also make their own decisions. The conversation this commemoration invites us into, beyond genocide, overcoming structural difference and rebuilding a cohesive society, is one of an important conversation. This is at hand a deeply human question. After something this devastating, complex, how do people find their way back to each other? Rwanda has been answering that question for 32 years. From the start, it was clear that the hardest part of rebuilding society was not meeting developmental indicators. Instead, it has been the interior work of rebuilding unity and restoring dignity. This nurturing of the social fabric built into everyday life, in how we listen, how we speak, and the many choices we make, that has created space for dialogue and unusual solutions. And it has enabled progress from the grassroots level. Everyone has a role to play. I play mine every day by choosing who I want to be, by choosing what I have to do for my country. After all, in my country, children are not held responsible for the crimes of their parents. Nevertheless, as much as they're not, I also distance myself from the genocide ideology, because that's also my choice to make. And by telling the truth and embracing reality. I love my mother. I visit her. I take care of her. I take my children and friends and family to see her. But it doesn't mean that I endorse any decision or anything she has done. It doesn't mean that justice should not be served. She is my lovely mother, but she has also to be accountable. One of the critical discussions and responsibility I still carry, which is to provide clarity to next generation, is conversations I have today with my 18 years and 15 years old children. My daughter is 18, my son is 15. Coming from a family where their father is a genocide survivor, who has lost his parents, siblings, family, and left with only one aunt and one young brother. I faced tough conversation when one day my children asked me, "Mom, how do you want us to reconcile loving and visiting grandmother who is in the prison with the fact that, although not directly, she is responsible of us not having the other grandmother, uncles, aunties, and is responsible of our father having been left as an orphan and suffered." Those are tough conversations to have with your children. How do you speak to them so that you don't infest hate in them? How do you speak to them so that they can understand that justice has to be served? How do you speak to them so that they understand the evil that happened and they should not take part of it? And that they have to carry the memory of the other family they have not got a chance to meet, but remain as Rwandans. Do not identify themselves as Hutus or Tutsis, but Rwandans. Those are tough discussions we are having in our homes. I'm speaking of mine. I know there are many that are facing tough discussions. We have to stay in line of what really defines us as Rwandans, to make sure that we're building next generations that will really carry the unity accountability, and thinking big that we have chosen. As we recommit ourselves, we continue this conversation at national level under the Umunyarwanda, I Am Rwandan, a national initiative launched in 2013 to foster unity and reconciliation by encouraging Rwandans to prioritize shared national identity over ethnic, regional, or tribal divisions. 32 years down the road, Rwanda remains on the right path to development. We have good news to share. We have a long way to still go. But as of today, we are the 6th fastest growing economy in Africa, 2nd in doing business, and 2nd also in business events destination, with strong African hub potential and highly connected airline. We have worked hard in Rwanda to build the physical and human capacity that has enabled us to host events and meetings of big magnitude like World Economic Forum, Commonwealth meetings of head of governments, Move Africa, and also we recently hosted the World Road Championship of Cyclism. Rwanda is continuously ranked as one of the most improved nations in human development in the world, and the 2nd fastest country in the world that is safe for female solo to travel. So to all women and ladies in the house, welcome to Rwanda. You'll be safe. We rank 4th for government transparency in Africa, with the most women in parliament, 61%, as well as gender-balanced cabinet. Rwanda is fortunate to have a young and growing population, 70% of our population under 30, with a growing bilingual educated workforce between 1995 and 2025. We were able to have approximately 185,000 Rwandans graduated in 30 years, unlike the 2,000 that were there in the pre-genocide leadership. As I conclude, we have a vision about the future we are working to build, which is to be middle-income economy by 2035. We have already seen what is possible when people decide that what they share matters more than what divide them. We remain committed to our cause, since we are fully aware that destiny is not given, it is rather taken. And purpose is not found, it is built brick by brick. The genocide against the Tutsi was carried out by ordinary people who chose hatred, ethnic extremism, and total disregard of humanity. The future we want is being built by ordinary people who choose dignity and equal rights, unity, accountability, and ambition for ourselves, our country, and our continent. We have made the choice, and we must empower and entrust our children with making that choice. We are here because memory, held honestly, is not burden. It is a compass that tells us where we are coming from and that makes sure that we do not lose sight of where we want to go. We remember, unite, and renew. Kwibuka32. Thank you very much for your attention. May God bless you.